I have a call in
Come,
45 minutes.
Mr. Gullyman, telling me banana.
Daylight come and they
Come
want.
and they
Yeah.
want to go home. So, welcome to the Get Busy Living podcast with a wonderful guest, Nick Davis, this morning. And we're already having a laugh and a joke. And so, thank you so much, Nick, for coming on and giving us some gold nuggets of information. Well, I should actually say bananas of nuggets, I think.
Now I'll try to
Nugget
stay as appealing as
bananas.
possible.
It's appealing. That's right. It's very appealing. Very appealing. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I'm can't wait to talk about what you do and your history and triplets. That should be that's going to be a crazy conversation too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one, mate. Much appreciated for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's absolutely a blast to be on here, man. I've wanted to hop on your podcast for a hot minute because I hear the most fantastic things about the Get Busy Living podcast, and I'm like, I gotta hop on this one. So, thank you so much for having me, man.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, and can't wait to talk about the bananas. But first of all, I'll ask with my usual question. So tell us, Nick, what gets you out of bed every morning?
What gets me out of bed every morning? Well, there's a bunch of different things, honestly, man. So, I gotta take care of my kids, right? Which is a big deal. I've got triplets, 3 little girls. They're fantastic. They're not little anymore. They're humongous at this point. I mean, I guess I've been told that humongous is not the best word to describe ladies, but they're not babies. You know what I mean? So they're like 5'5", 5'6", thereabouts. I don't know the centimeters conversion yet, but it's crazy. The ladies grow up just so quickly. But I would say what gets me out of bed every morning is making sure that I can provide for my family, which is a huge deal, right? And then also making sure that I can provide like what gets everybody out of bed every morning, right? You gotta make sure you can live your life and do it to the fullest. You only get one spin around this rock that we're aware of, and you want to make sense of it while you're doing it, right? And there's so many people, especially in America where I live, is like they're so focused on work. Like working to live, as opposed to living to work, right? And so, or working to, vice versa. So they work more, live less, and I want to live more, work less, which is the thing. So, that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. Good question, Scott.
So I'll just start with the second question. So on your LinkedIn profile, it says that you're a health insurance advisor and consultant. Reclaim Your Premium, which is your website, which I'll show you later. And you're a podcast guest of affordable PPO health insurance does exist. So you do health insurance, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what the hell got you into health insurance?
That is a loaded question, mate. That is a loaded question.
Actually, before you answer,
yeah.
I'll just bring Dominique. Dominique is saying g'day. Say g'day, mate, from Victoria.
What's up, Dominic? G'day, mate.
Northside Hawks. So thanks, brother, for coming on. Looking forward to some comments from you, brother. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us this morning, mate. But yeah. Sorry, go ahead, mate. Go. So what got you into health insurance, Nick?
We'll flashback to September 26th of 2019. I was doing mechanical engineering and the subject matter expert for the Western Hemisphere of the planet, which is really cool, right? Super duper duper stoked about it. My whole entire department got cut because there was a bunch of different things going on in the world at the time, geopolitically wise. I was owned by a British company, and they're like, hey, let's lay off the Americans. And so I was unfortunately the head of that particular pyramid, and they just cut the whole top of it off, which is a pain in the butt, right? So here I am doing my thing with my kids, and I need to have insurance for my kids. And I'm like, all right, great. So they have this thing called COBRA, right, which is COBRA. It's an abbreviation, not a snake, and it stands for the Continuous Omnibus Reconciliation Act, essentially. Long story short, they give you the health insurance from your employer. They allow you to keep that and take that with you when you're laid off from a company. There's a whole mess of rules, which I'm not going to go into right now. But I read all those rules, and it didn't make sense for me. right? Because it was really, really, really expensive stuff. And I didn't know the right questions to ask. Because gaining knowledge isn't necessarily about gaining knowledge. It's about knowing the right questions to ask to get what you need to know.
Absolutely.
That's the most important part, you know? And so, because I didn't know the right questions to ask, I was like, well, snot. So I did, like an engineer level form of research, AKA the most exhausting and boring level of research you could possibly imagine. And I went to almost every actually just about every in Google for health insurance. And the only thing I could find was just opinions. And I can't base a fact off an opinion. That's silly. You know what I mean? So I was like, well, snot, how am I going to do this? And I was like, well, if I was, snot, I guess if I was just doing this for a living, like, what do I need to know? Right? So what I ended up doing is I was like, well, maybe I can test out of it. I'm used to being inundated with unholy amounts of knowledge anyway. So like, may as well. I'm at the engineering stuff, so let's go. So I did all my licensing, my certifications, ended up reading a whole bunch, and got fingerprinted by the FBI over here, which is nuts. And now I'm regulated by the Federal Trade Commission, which is even crazier. And so amongst doing all of those things, I gained a lot of knowledge about health insurance. And the only reason I did it is because I had no idea what the heck I was looking at, to be honest with you. Because in America, it's a very interesting system in general over here. 85% of this entire company 85% of this country works for somebody else, right? And so they don't have to worry about health insurance because their employers are just feeding it to them with a spoon. Say, hey, I will give you this if you continue to work for me, right? Which is the thing. But 15% of our population, myself included, we work for ourselves, and we're like, hey, how do we do this, right? When you're the person pulling the buttons and screwing the switches, then things get, there's more details in that. And so I ended up learning a little bit more about health insurance just so I could actually know what was going on. And the funny thing is I did at the time, it did not dawn on me about making this career, like true story. I just wanted information so I could understand what I was looking at, right? And understand why there was no PPO plans in Texas. And PPO is Preferred Provider Organization. It means you can pick your doctor, pick your hospital, go wherever you need to, stuff like that, right? So in the marketplace, which is the country, has a website essentially you can go to. Fantastic idea, rubbish execution, but fantastic idea, mind you. And it puts everybody in the same spot, which is, yeah. But it doesn't have. It has like a different form of coverage, right? And it doesn't have what people are used to if they work for a large employer. And so as somebody who's self-employed, I got to do all the research myself. And I was like, snot, this is exhausting because I don't know what the heck I'm looking at. So I got all that information. We're all good. Now I have all the information. I know what I need, and I have no idea where to find it at this point. And I'm like, oh God, what do I do, right? And then all of these lower level ACA brokers like that sell like, marketplace plans and things of that nature that just really kind of throwaway stuff, They're like, hi, man, you want to be a broker? And I'm like, what are you even talking about? They're like, yeah, you up to 45, 50 different clients, find the best needs for your client. I'm like, what'd you even say? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, this is weird. And I was like, no, I don't want to. Then some advisors came along and I'm like, I don't know what the heck do you guys do? And they're like, yeah, we're one of the few people in the US that can, do full PPO health insurance plans, dental, vision, everything like that in one spot, like you would with a major employer. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I ended up doing that for a while. But before I did that, I had no idea I was going to make health insurance my career. What led me to make health insurance my career was an Ishikawa diagram, right? An Ishikawa diagram is a fishbone diagram. So on this fishbone diagram, I was simultaneously doing two different things. And so on one side, I was like, I need to learn everything I possibly can about health insurance because I have no idea how anything works. On the other hand, I was like, Nick needs a job and I got to figure out what in the heck to do. So I put in over 640 plus resumes, applications, everything like that. And I got every answer under the sun, whether it was year too old, which was weird because that was a long time ago, but it was a thing. I was either too old or too expensive or had way too much experience or was way too overqualified. And I was like, all of these things sound so cool, but they don't help out me at all. How can I get better at this? And they're like, oh. So I was like, sweet. So I'm going to go ahead and make an Ishikawa diagram, fishbone diagram. I'm like, and the fishbone diagram was titled, What Makes Nick Happy? Because I'm like, look, if I'm going to have to reinvent myself, may as well make sense out of it. right? So on that Ishikawa diagram, I put down everything that I've ever done as a position, as for work, right? To see if I can do a root cause analysis, because that would make logical sense, right? And so on that particular thing, I started from the beginning, which in the beginning I did a lot of, I was actually a women's fashion consultant for high fashion, which is crazy stuff when I was like 18. Stories for days. Ladies are hilarious, man. It was the funniest stuff, you know? It was so funny because they were like, I was just like skinny as a real little punk rock kid with big, huge, like, you know, huge spikes all over my head and stuff, you know, multiple colors and things of that nature. And these ladies would bring their girlfriends into me and they're like, that's the guy? And they're like, that's the guy. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, hey, what's going on? She's like, okay, so this is Nick. You're going to listen to everything he says because Nick is going to help you find a man in Aspen, okay? And it was the funniest thing in the world. And so it was so much fun working in the high fashion industry. So I did that for a couple of years while simultaneously studying biomechanics, which is cool. And biomechanics, as you know, is the study of how the human body works in a mechanical fashion. And I was also, at the same time, learning about orthotics, which is one thing, like how to make them and how to shape them and how to fit them to prevent pronation and so on and so forth, which is super, super cool. Super, super excited about that. So I've been practicing that for the past 28 years, which is pretty cool. So anyway, so I put that on there, fashion consultant, right? I was like, sweet. What else did I do? Well, I also ran a skateboard shop, an inline skate shop. That was really, really fun. The biggest one in Houston, as a matter of fact, which is pretty big, which is nice. And Houston's a humongous city, so that's, you know, I guess it was kind of big. But so I did that for a long time. And then that wasn't enough. So by the time I was 19, I was a internationally recognized dancer, which is fun. So I've danced with people from every continent on the planet, which is pretty cool, with the exception of Antarctica. So if you know anybody in Antarctica that hasn't danced before, let me know. My list and teach and dance with them. Just fun.
People actually,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was so much fun, right? I didn't realize I could make that an actual career, which is totally nuts. So I didn't end up doing that, which is lame. And so after I did dancing a whole bunch, I essentially went back to finished university as well. Founded a fraternity out here, which is lots of fun too, which is different story, different day. It's amazing stuff. And then went to go work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car for a long time. And, they'll teach you the tools to run your own business. They kind of do, actually, which is hilarious. At first, I like made fun of them for that, but like literally, the management training is second to none over there. After I did that, I ran a bicycle shop for a very, very long time as well, and became a master fitter. And so basically, somebody could bring me a bicycle frame. I can size it down to the millimeter, and with that to for more power per pedal stroke, stuff like that. But also, I combine that with my biomechanics knowledge, and I was adjusting bicycle fits for scoliosis. I was adjusting bicycle fits for leg length discrepancies. And there was even one client. It's like an artist with an easel, and you totally get this for what you do too, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's like I was working on one client, and I doing his bike fit and everything like that. I was like, cool, everything looks good. And I was like, huh, interesting. And he was like, what's going on? I was like, you have two subdermal cysts. One is impinging on L3, and the other one is right around L2. You know that, right? And he was like, what? Wait, hold on. How'd you find that? I was like, it's just what your body says. I'm looking at it right now. I was like, boop. And he's like, what is that? I'm like, that's a subdermal cyst, sir. And he was like, what? What are those even? And as I told him what they were, and he's like, are you a doctor? I was like, I'm just fitting your bike, man. And he was like, huh. Okay. so did that for a long time. And then helped out maybe 7 or 10,000 people here in Houston, a couple ex Olympians. That was really fun. And then after that, I was riding about 155, 160 miles a week here in Houston, which is a lot per week. And racing the velodrome and things of that nature. So much fun. And one of the guys I was racing with used to work for NASA, the space company. And he had just moved from NASA to Houston, and he was riding with me. And he's like, Nick, you've got a fantastic grip on applied physics. And I was like, oh, thanks, man. He's like, would you like to get paid to break things for a living? And I'm like, wait, hold on. Excuse me, what? He's like, would you like to get paid to break things for a living? And I was like, yes. I mean, like, what kind of question question is, who would say no to that? You know what I mean? I was like, okay, fine, whatever. Yeah, I'm down. So in 5.5 years, I went from the person who did not know what fracture mechanics was to essentially running the largest oil and gas testing facility in the entire United States and becoming the subject matter expert for the Western Hemisphere of the entire planet. And like the last thing I did is wrote SOPs on how to measure the stretch of material using light waves and all kinds of fun things. So much fun. Oh my gosh, so much fun. So all of that was on my Ishikawa diagram. And I was like, sweet, how on earth am I going to connect all of those things to each other? What is the lowest common denominator? So I did a lot of work on that. And the lowest common denominator is that I want to help people, which makes sense. But everybody wants to help people. You can't be like, I want to help people. Because like, you're gonna like, you gotta have
Dharma doesn't.
Exactly, right? So I'm like, well, what's my specialty gonna be? Right? Then I was like thinking. I'm like, oh, bing, light bulb goes off. And I'm like, I just learned all this crap about health insurance. Wait, hold on. Can I make this a job? I don't know. And so at that point in time is when I invented Reclaim Your Premium had a weird, so that's when I started doing health insurance, right? And my first name for the company was so dumb. It was the insurance peddler, because I was like, oh, I'm a dad, like dad jokes, and they're cheeky and dumb, right? So like, let's go with like insurance peddler, PEDALER. And I thought it was so cool. After me spelling that about 300 times, I was like, I gotta change my name, dude. And I was going to all these global networking events at the time, and they're like, "Oh, that's the Reclaim Your Premium guy. That's the Reclaim Your Premium guy." And I'm like, "Oh, there might be something to this." And so I was like, you know what? If I'm going to be known for it, then may as well go for it, right? And so changed my entire branding to Reclaim Your Premium. Everything around the world is Reclaim Your Premium. So if you type in Reclaim Your Premium to your web browser, for anybody watching right now, you're going to see me. I'm like the entire first page of Google just about, which is pretty cool, right? Hashtag Reclaim Your Premium. Reclaim Your Premium on all social media handles with the exception of LinkedIn. And it's really fun, honestly. So I didn't intend on making this a job, but hey, here we are, which actually works out okay. And I've gotten to run global networking organizations for the past 7 years, meet some of the coolest people in the world, yourself included, by the way, sir. And I mean, it's been a complete journey, and you just never really know where you're going to go until you open yourself up to actually do it, which is cool. So I hope I answered your question okay.
Yep, you came first. I just searched it then, Reclaim Your Premium. Yeah, you came up straight away. Health insurance is bananas.
That's me.
Hence the banana in the background. So,
indeed.
Now, you like you said before, you have triplets.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're a single dad now, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Divorced single dad. Yes, sir.
Just ask the banana. What was I going to say? So yeah, that's pretty full on. So I get it. But you can do this anywhere in the world. You can do this job in the world, and I get it. I understand you've got 3 girls to look at. 3 girls, yeah, 3 girls.
Mm-hmm. 3 girls.
You got 3 girls to look after, and I thought it was tough with one. You got 3 of them on one hit. That's just magic.
It very much is. Yeah, 1 in 64 million odds if you're curious.
What's that?
1 in 64 million odds if you're curious.
Wow. No, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, spontaneous. So spontaneous triplets right there. Not for no fertility, no ventros, all spontaneous, which is pretty cool.
Wow. Look at you.
Yeah.
The multiplier, Nick Davis.
So it's actually really funny you mentioned that, because I was like, right? Like I have triplets. Why do I have triplets? I mean, I wasn't upset about it by any means. I was super stoked, but I was like, but why? I was just the curious person that wants to know why all the time. I was also the weird kid that had a subscription to the New England Journal of Medicine when I was like 18 and just read it for fun because it was good reading,
What's it?
It was really fun. You never know what you're going to learn sometimes. It's a good time, And so I was like, triplets. Interesting. So I was like thumbing through my things. I'm like, how does triplets? Oh, then I learned one egg can split up to 4 times, which was really, really cool. And I was like, that's interesting, right? And then I also learned that the guys are responsible for the the sex of the child, and the
Yeah,
ladies
that's
are
right.
responsible for the quantity, which is the thing, right? So I was like, that's
Right,
okay. That's pretty common knowledge. But then I found out something that was very interesting. There's a thing called a dual ovulation gene, which is very, very fun. It
Yes,
has the
yes, that's
same,
right.
yeah, it has the same statistical odds of reoccurrence as a red hair gene in two parents that are not redheaded, essentially, right?
Wow.
So it's got total Ranga odds in Aussie words, you know? And so I was like, interesting. Okay. And so essentially it's a recessive
yeah.
gene. And so it goes from
Because-
mother to the daughter, of course, right? And all it means is that she drops 2 eggs when she has her period. It's relatively frequently before 35. After 35, people just dumping those things off like no big deal. So it's really no big deal, right? And that's how fraternal twins happen, which is a good thing, right? Do 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 do. It's a good podcast, guys. Promise. And so it was really fun. And so that was neat. So that's how fraternal twins happen. So right place, right time. 2 eggs get fertilized, all gravy, right? Somewhere between week 10 and week 15, one decides to split for fun, just for funsies, right? And we were at our 10-week ultrasound, right? And so she's scanning, the sonographer's scanning. She's like, okay, cool. Here's baby A and baby B with baby A and baby C. Congratulations, you guys have triplets. And I was like, oh, what? And like my ex was just big eyes. I was big eyes. I was like, we need a bigger car. This is crazy, And
we need a bigger car. You don't need a bigger boat.
Well, the funny thing is, so I've never really owned like fancy cars my whole life. It's all been like used cars, right? So the first brand new car I ever got was like a Nissan Cube, and I thought it was cool because of the Japanese idea of modeling a car after a jacuzzi, which is really cool. That's how they made the Nissan Cube, which is fun. So I was like, okay, that's cool. It's awesome. Then I was thinking to myself, I'm like, wait, I can't put 3 car seats in a Nissan Cube. Son of a biscuit. I got to get a new car. That was my first thought. And so here I am driving this American-sized pickup truck everywhere. 4-door pickup truck is just god-awful huge, right? And people are like, oh, it's because you're in Texas. Oh, you like them there pickup trucks because you can haul stuff, da-da-da-da-da, right? No, I was literally just hauling children. That was it. It was the only car on the American at the time. Why did I have to put 3 car seats side by side?
I'm trafficking.
So it was fun. I did that for a while.
I was going to say, sorry about my sick humor, but what I was going to say, and I can see why you went into this business because it's dad friendly, number one, and also you can have more time with the girls. So very commendable, brother. Yeah, like you said, the worst dad in the world. So yeah,
thank you.
Much appreciated. I'm sure the girls will thank you every day. But what I was going to say, now tell us about, because this is an Australian audience mainly, but there are some US audience and they'll understand what you're saying, but I wouldn't have a clue. And most of my audience wouldn't. But tell us about the US healthcare system, the healthcare insurance system, I should say.
It's interesting, right? So, okay. So in general, so I've learned lots of things in my travels around the world virtually, right? So the NHS, National Healthcare System, right? That's one that you guys are participating in, along with it's like a sovereign reign of England, basically. Good old commies, right? They'll get you every turn, right?
Yeah.
So you guys are still on their system as well as Canada is, right? And so that's okay. And the fun thing is like there is a grass is greener situation all of the time, right? Unless you just really, really, really love your country, it's almost always a grass is greener situation when it comes to health insurance, because people are like, oh, it costs so much in America to have health insurance. This is criminal, blah, 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 right? And then over there or over in England or over in Canada, they're like, oh yeah, we pay nothing for health insurance and it's so great. That's awesome. Cool. Well, your kidney, how did you get that replaced? Well, I was on a waiting list for 6 months. And don't get me wrong, it was 6 months. And I did get 2 other diseases while I was waiting, but they eventually treated them and it was great. And it was great because I didn't pay anything. I'm like, that's cool. It took you 6 months to get your kidney replaced. And they're like, well, yeah, I was on a waiting list. That's normal. And I'm like, not in America, it's not. And they're like, wait, what? I don't understand. I was like, so basically, we're not taxed for our health insurance like everybody else is. right? So your health insurance, a lot of countries are taxed. They take the tax out. Ireland takes 60% off, for example, right? For health insurance and related costs and things of that nature. Since we're not doing that, they and they're like, oh, it's freedom, blah blah blah. It's a different situation it's a different slice of bread either way you look at it, right? But how it works over here is because it's not taxed, we pay the full cost of health insurance, right? Which is fine. And health insurance costs almost the same amount no matter where you're at in the world anyway, to an extent, right? And so
that's right.
Trying to figure out kind of like where's the happy medium with that, right? So being that we have to pay the full amount for health insurance, this country is a very weird country because it is corporately run by massive, massive corporations. And that is what it is. And it's unfortunately something I can't individually change myself. But regardless of this, it's a different conversation, different day. But and run by God. Anyway, don't even get me started on that. For anybody watching who's not in America, I did not vote for that person. Please don't take it out of me. Oh my God. Anyway,
what person? Oh, I'm gonna keep.
No, we're here, mate. Yeah. So, but basically, how it works is since we're paying the full cost of health insurance, right? The larger companies, larger corporations, of course, they're going to pander to the people who can pay the most, right? And the people who can pay the most are the corporations. So you've got corporations paying corporations, which makes some to no sense for explanation reasons. However, the major health insurance companies cater to the major corporations because the major corporations are employing 85% of the entire country, and the country is huge. So that's a lot of people, right? And so when you go to work for an employer over here, and that employer is over 50 people long, that employer is legally obligated to cover 50% of your health insurance, right? They're also obligated to at least offer health insurance. And so people are working for other people because they can get lower cost on health insurance. That's the lowest, that's the easiest way to explain it, right? And it still costs a good amount. And then when you get into the whole, like, what's a network, what's not a network, that's a different conversation, different day, something I cannot have on a podcast. But the great deal about it is really being an informed client, no matter where you are in the world, gets you everywhere, which is a huge deal. You just have to know the right questions to ask. And that's how I educate all of my clients. And that's why people work with me, because at the end of the day, you're not working with, and this is for yourself included. This is for any company out there. People don't work with your products. They work with you specifically. Right.
Yeah,
and the value you provide your clients is incredibly important. Right. And so how I work with my clients is I let them know the things to say. Right. If you've ever seen the movie The Incredibles, basically. Right. One of the highest compliments I ever got. Right. And this is the funniest thing. It's so cute, too. It's like, I think my girls were like 6 at the time. No, hold on. See, they were 8. They were 8 years old. Yeah, the girls were 8 at the time. And I was on a call with a client, right? The girls are like running around in the background as they do, right? After my call, the girls are like, "Dad." I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "You're like Mr. Incredible." And I'm like, "Well, thank you. I do not look like Mr. Incredible for sure." He is in shape and I have shape. There's two different things.
you got a keg instead of a 6-pack.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. And they were like, "All right, cool." I was like, "So what do you mean?" And they're like, "Well, you're telling people like you need to do this and do this over here and say this to these people and ask for this." And I'm like, "Yeah, good noticing that, baby girl." And they're like, "Yeah, that's what it seems like." And I'm like, "That's really cool. Thank you for saying that." Right. And so knowing is very, very, very important, right? Because this country profits off of people who don't know, who are uneducated, essentially. Because the more uneducated you are in general, the more controllable you are, and the more people can shift you into something that benefits their profit margin versus that's actually good for you, which is like, that's a big deal, right? So same thing works in health insurance, right? So larger companies are going to advertise and everything like that, keep people going, and it's affordable, which is great. You're sacrificing certain things to be a part of that affordability situation, right? Heavy parentheticals there, but where they subsidize things and so on and so forth, which is fine, but there's limited choices on that, right? So as an entrepreneur, what do you do for health insurance? How do you even get that? How do you find that stuff, right? Well, contacting a person like myself that has a higher level access than civilians do, I've got access to over 240 carriers worldwide, which is a big deal, right? And so people can come to me and I'm like, cool, this is what is on the market. This is what makes sense for your situation. And they're like, oh God, thank you. Somebody finally spelled it out. I'm like, yes, let's go. This makes sense. And I'm like, why does everybody do this? And I'm like, I don't know, man. They just want to take your money. And they're like, oh, okay.
Well, yeah, it's not just health insurance. It's any insurance. It doesn't matter which one it is. It's the same old story. It's like buying the lounge or paying the amount of money, I should say the amount of money for a lounge, but all you get is a stool.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and the thing is, I mean, aside from the fact we have to pay the full cost of health insurance, it's all on demand, which is cool. There's no waiting lines for anything, which is cool. That's something that my all of my friends outside of America are just like, wait, you didn't have to wait for your liver transplant? I'm like, nope. No, they're like, cool, we can do it on Tuesday. Sweet. All right, cool, let's go. And boom, in, out, But then again, that's a different situation as well, because that leads into the hospital situation, which is like churn and burn for some corporations, because corporations work on widgets, right? They want to get widgets in and out, in and out, in and out. And, when people start focusing on people, things go way farther, I think,
But that's why you're here, is to make sure that people get the lounge, not the stool.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for pointing that out. Yeah, and that's why you were the podcaster.
I still got a fucking stool, Nick. I was gonna say, so yeah, that's pretty much what you do, is you help people get the best coverage for them, and for the lowest price. That's basically the job.
Best coverage for your situation, right? Because the answer, just if you've ever like listened to two children argue between each other, right? The answer is definitely in the middle. Like, this person says this person says this. This is probably true, right? It's the same thing with health insurance. If you pay a stupid amount for your health insurance, you might be overpaying, right? You probably are overpaying, mind you. But it doesn't also, paying more doesn't always equal better coverage by any means.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, and paying a little doesn't mean you have lower coverage either, right? But sometimes it makes sense, and just depends on the person. And so that's why I match the people to the scenario a little bit, and say, cool, if I were you, this is what I would be doing, which makes sense.
Yep, exactly right. Basically, you're the doctor of insurance.
I try.
Well, yeah, that's your understanding, because you have an intimate understanding of how procedures happen, especially in medical centers, but also hospitals, and what people go through. Because you would see it, people come to you and say, "Oh, I want to claim on this. What do I have to do?" Because you'd have to follow up with them, of course, and they'd say, "Well, I had to go through this," and then you'd learn from that, and then you say, "Well, okay." The next person, I would say, "This is what's probably going to happen." And if this happens to you.
Yeah, to an extent. You got to be careful about that, though, because then, Americans, they love to sue people for everything, right? So, like, you got to be really careful about that stuff. But what I can say is it's interesting stuff, right? So what I've learned, like, organizationally wise, and this applies to everybody in the world as far as I know, right? So retail has barcodes, right? Those barcodes have barcode numbers. And then sometimes products have SKUs, which are digit numbers that apply in a computer system. So it logs what the price of each T-shirt is that you're buying, or each thing that you're buying, right? And medical, that word is CPT. I don't know what it stands for, but CPT codes in America anyway are the SKUs essentially for each individual service, right? And if you go in for a physical, for example, right? And you're like, cool, I'm getting this. And then you tell the doctor, give me everything in the kitchen sink because of physicals. Yeah. Right. They're going to go, okay, because they're running a business too. Right. Yeah. And so they're going to go, cool. All right, here's physical. And then items A through Z. And let's put that on your bill too. And then you're like, why is my bill so much? I don't understand. And they're like, well, did you go in for a physical? Yeah, I did. I told them everything on the physical. Yeah. And then you look at it and you're like, well, why is... So if you went in for a physical, you're hypothetically, of course, your claim sheet is like 1 page long, right? It's 15. they're like, oh yeah, I got a bunch of this. Yeah, it's cool shit. I got a cool little caloric, all the things, right? And you're like, oh, that's awesome, cool. Wait, hold on, that's not included with the. It's like, no, it's not. Like everything, they're like, oh. And insurance companies look at that, and people look at that. And they look at everything through the CPT codes, item codes, and so on and so forth. So that helps you kind of be a little bit more informed consumer. You know, when you're like, you go in, you're like, hey, this is what I want, and this is what I'm getting, right? Because nobody puts a menu on their things. Oh God, that would simplify everything so much easier. But you go in, you're like, hey, I want a this, and they're like, cool, just a this, gotcha, right? So nobody tries to pull the wool over your eyes, which is important. So if I had to impart one tiny piece of knowledge and nugget for anybody in the world listening, it is that, right? Be informed and ask the questions. Ask the things. You're okay to ask questions. It doesn't cost anything to ask questions. Always ask questions, and don't assume that somebody is the best at what they do. I mean, they probably are the best at what they do if you're going to go see them for a thing, right? But always ask questions, because you can never know everything. It's statistically impossible, which is the thing.
No, that's right. What was I going to say? Yeah, and then exactly right. So tell us about how you've helped someone with a coverage issue. That's
for sure.
With a coverage issue.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna plug one of my clients on this one because he's so cool, man. So cool stuff. Okay, so here I am networking, right? So networking in general, for those of you that are entrepreneurs, so on and so forth, networking is lots of fun. You can meet lots of people, lots of business owners, lots of things that could be your target audience, could not be your target audience. It's okay, because you never know who knows who, right? And the likelihood of you gaining a client from a networking event is very, very slim. It does happen from time to time, but mind you, very slim. So always get out there and network past the event, right? This particular instance is the direct opposite of that. I was in a networking call, and this guy was like, hey, you do health insurance? I'm like, yeah. He was pretty cool, dude. I'm like, awesome. And he's like, yeah, so I think, I might have to talk with you. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. What's up, man? And he's like, yeah, I think I'm paying too much for my health insurance. I was like, well, if you think you're paying too much, you probably are. But hey, I don't know. Let's take a look and see if it makes sense for you. And he's like, yeah, sure, let's go. So we took a look. And turns out he was paying a whole lot for his health insurance, right? He was paying, I think it was $2,300, $2,400 a month, at least, for him and his family, right? Which is a lot. And so I was like, yeah, you don't need to pay that much.
$2,400 was it?
Yeah, about $2,400 or so a month, which is a lot.
Wow.
A lot for his family and his size of family, too. Because there's no way. And so I was able to help him out and find a plan that met his needs and situation, and saved him like $800 a month. Not a small amount, So he's very, as anybody would be, very rapt about that. And so I was like, cool, let's go. That's awesome, right? And so he calls me back a few months later, and he was like, hey, Nick. I'm like, yeah, what's up, man? And he's like, hey, so let's see here. So, okay, so I haven't told anybody else about this. I'm like, yeah, well, please spit it out. What you got? And he's like, so if I leave my job, what happens to my health insurance? And I'm like, well, that's a very good question. And because you have health insurance with me, your policy is tied to you and no one else. And he was like, oh, no way, really? And I'm like, yes way. Yeah, it's definitely tied to you. He's like, so cool. Okay, cool. So I've had this lifelong dream, and I'm very excited about it. I'm like, okay, do tell if you like. And he's like, yeah, sure. He's like, so what I want to do is pack up all my stuff, sell all my stuff if I can, put me and my wife and my child in an RV and travel the United States and show my little girl the world. And I'm like, man, as a fellow girl dad, I could not agree more with how cool that sounds. That is amazing. I would love for you to do that. That's so cool. He's like, awesome. The only thing that was holding me back from achieving my lifelong dream is my health insurance. And I'm like, you've got to be joking. And he's like, nope, dead serious, man. Everything else is in play. I just need to know I have health insurance when I'm anywhere in the world. And I'm like, or anywhere in the US. I'm like, yeah. The plans that all my clients get work anywhere in the United States and go anywhere they want to, which is beautiful. And he was like, oh my gosh, this is great. And so he was able to achieve his lifelong dream because he had the right health insurance, which is so cool. And he started a YouTube channel and an Instagram channel and a Facebook page, but it's called Into the Wild with a Child. Into the Wild with a Child. The coolest freaking thing ever, man, because it's basically him and his wife just going from brewery to brewery in the United States and a bunch of different places just with their kids, just hanging out. It's like a vlog. It's kind of cool. And he was able to do that because he had the right health insurance. It was so stinking cool, man. So I brag on Corey a lot because he's a cool guy that did a lot of cool stuff, man. And I was really, really excited. So, it's one of those rewarding things, in any industry that you're in. If you're in it and you become a subject matter expert in it, at some point in time in your career, you're going to have defining clients that are just like, that hit right here. I feel really good about that. That was one of those. That was pretty cool. So good question.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, I was going to ask you how many people were in his family. You answered it's 3. So that's a crazy amount of money. So how much did you end up? And you also made it independent, which is pretty cool as well for him.
Yeah.
So and did the price come down as well?
Yeah. He saved $800 a month from what he was currently paying. So it worked out.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he had better coverage and he had cheaper prices. Almost, yeah. Well, that's 1/3. That's 1/3.
Mm-hmm.
So 33%.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's a big deal, man. So just knowing the right things and knowing the person that has can push all the buttons and switches, that helps you out tremendously as a client, no matter what you're doing, which is a big deal.
Absolutely. Tell us about another one. Preferably about like someone has been given some bad news and
I'm happy to do that.
Their insurance doesn't cover them, and you've gone.
Before I do, I got to let you know I got to hop off in 4 minutes to help a client too. By the way.
Oh, okay. That's why I was asking you at the start. It's all good, brother. Yeah, let's do it.
No worries. So essentially, this lady, she had coverage through. She had some coverage through the marketplace, right? It's not a big deal. Well, it was a big deal for her specifically because the type of coverage she had was really important, right? So she had this HMO coverage, health maintenance organization coverage, right? And so this HMO coverage puts the insurance company in charge of what's medically necessary as opposed to the doctor. It's very, very messy territory to get into, right? This lady developed ovarian cancer on her left side, right? And so the doctor was like, sweet, we need to go in and do a hysterectomy, just pull everything out, doesn't give a place to grow, we're good to go, right? That was his thought. Completely logical from the physician standpoint. Physician goes to the insurance company. He's like, insurance company, this is what I think needs to happen. The insurance company's like, cool, we've crunched the numbers on, we crunched the numbers on this, and it turns out that if you just take out the cancerous bit, she's going to live. And he was like, okay. But like, look, we're going to pay for the cancer. We're going to pay for you to take the cancer out. She's got to pay for anything else afterwards, right? Which is a messy situation. And so he's like, he went back to the patient. He's like, sorry, I can't. If you want a full hysterectomy, you're going to have to pay for the other half because the insurance is paying for this part. You got to pay for the other part. And she was like, I can't do that, right? And so, the whole trauma with getting ovarian cancer and all the things and all the things she had to deal with that, get cancer removed, deal with that, right? Heal up for the rest of the year. And then the ovarian cancer came back worse than it was in the first place on the other side. Crazy stuff. So, and the only reason she had to rewait is because she couldn't afford to cover it because the insurance company wasn't going to cover it, right? And so she could only do half, which is a pain in the butt. So she had to wait for the next year for her insurance to redo. So we take out the rest of it. And it was just a huge mess. If she would have had a PPO plan, which puts the care in terms of the doctor as opposed to the insurance company, she would have been much better off. They would have done the whole thing because in a PPO plan, preferred provider organization, the payment is squared away with the patient and the insurance company, and the doctor is in charge of what's medically necessary, which is how it's supposed to be, right? And so that's where a lot of people run into problems here in America. They have plans that don't fit their needs or situation, and then they end up getting in serious medical debt, which makes no sense. And it could have been very much avoided if they just had the right plan for their situation going into it.
Gotcha. All right, brother. So we'll go to the last 2 questions. So who's your ideal client?
My ideal client, entrepreneurs, mom and pop shops, solopreneurs, people that run their own business, people that have health insurance through their company, like my insurance sucks, like those people. And then also now, as an expanded benefit, I can insure tens of thousands of people if I need to, which is cool at once.
So we'll go on to the last question. So what ideas or information would you give to provide lifelong longevity?
Lifelong longevity. Don't forget to breathe. Very important, right? It's important. Like, take time for yourself.
Yep.
Super important. Second, don't forget to smile. So important. Even if it's just smiling at yourself in the mirror every single day, massive, massive deal. Happiness is a choice, and positivity is a choice. So I'll leave you guys with those 4 gems.
I've been smiling the last 45 minutes, that's for sure. So, Nick, just because you didn't bag me too much and you made me smile a lot, I'm going to give you access to my bronze membership in the Health Club. I teach you about EFT, emotional freedom technique, meditation, nutrition, exercise, roadblocks in your mind, disc profiling who you are, acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine, the 8 leading chronic diseases which are killing hundreds of thousands of Australians every year. It's getting worse, just like the US, no different. So you get access to that, brother, for 30 days for free.
Oh, my God.
There's the codes there. So my VA will sort that all out for you. So thanks very much, Nick. Much appreciated, brother. You've been watching the Get Busy Living podcast with the wonderful Nick Davis. And I'm Dr. Scott. You have a great day, guys.
Thank you guys so much. Whoop, whoop, whoop. You guys are